Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. I'm your host. Well, Britain is on fire. Britain and Northern Ireland are both racked with riots, and buildings are burning, and smoke bombs are being thrown, and fireworks are being thrown, bottles and bricks and things are being thrown. There's a lot of hostility, a lot of aggression, and a lot of pent-up anger has spilled to the fore. You may remember last week, 3 girls were murdered while they were having a dance class by a person who is not indigenous to the country. And as a result, the backlash for the mass migration has burst out onto the streets. And I'm looking all over X. You can see 6 or 7 different cities. I didn't pull that many clips into this particular episode because I wanted to do some talking about it. As I know people from that region of the world, I understand people from that region of the world, I wanted to give my opinion on how this could end up horribly for many, many people that are victims of the mass migration. Before I get into it, I would encourage you all to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this channel with all of your socials. I have memberships and I have an open GoFundMe so that I can get better equipment. Okay, so as you know, those 3 girls were taken by an animal, and the British have had enough. The population that is against the mass migration, that it's somewhere in the neighborhood of tens of thousands a month in a tiny little island and cramming into all the cities. And the problem is that nobody respects the culture that they're coming into. Now, I see women from the West going into the Middle East all the time. They do news reports, they do all that stuff, and they cover their hair. Because if they don't adhere to the local culture causes a lot of problems. But the people that are in control of the media here try to shame everybody. But I can tell you right now that those words are having zero impact on what we see going on right now. They don't care. They're just, call me whatever name you want. And it's pretty bad. I'll show you some clips, and then I'll give you my 2 cents worth. In this one, you'll hear helicopters. You'll see that the police are giving them quite a distance. You can see here how even though the police are giving them easily a football field of distance, which is basically what they do when they're surrendering the region, these guys are walking up within, throwing distance and hurling stuff right into their face. So this is anger. Okay, now this is Northern Ireland, and I'll tell you at the end of this clip something that you need to pay attention to this. All right, right here we're seeing a common tactic that the British Army and the police were using during the 70s to separate the orange and the green from, tearing each other to shreds. This is Northern Ireland. Starting a religious war in this country is probably some of the stupidest things you could ever think of. And the thing is that the constabulary here know how to deal with keeping groups apart. Now here's somebody messed up, because you can see near the end somebody starts running and flags over there start to fall. Okay, now this is a group of people from, I don't know where, the Middle East, making clearly one of the stupidest things they could ever do. And I'll let you hear it, but I'll tell you at the end why I think this is a ridiculous idea. I think this is Liverpool. I wouldn't want to be the guy driving this car.
Get him, lads! Get the fuckers! Smash that shit up! Get that shit done, look! Get fucked off, lads! Watch yourself! Watch yourself! Watch yourself! Get back!
Now, I don't know what happens to these two guys, but I can tell you right now, it ain't going to be good for them. Okay, so you saw that, and you saw all of that, and I know I spoke through some of it, but that's because I wanted to draw to your attention many of the subtleties that I had noticed, like that wall of armored cars. That's an old tactic. They developed that during the 60s and 70s to keep the Irish from tearing each other to shreds, which is why I think those guys running around the countryside screaming Allah Akbar or whatever, however that goes, is probably one of the stupidest moves you can ever make. You don't want to start a religious war, especially not in Europe. That's just like Hollywood telling you that it's a romantic. It's not. England is got a massive history of religious war, religious conflict. I mean, they were one of the first countries to pull away from the Pope. You have no idea how many different people and how many different countries they took on in a defense of their religion. Like, I mean, wars that were called things like the 30 Years' War, the Great Northern Conflict, the 80 Years' War, things of that nature. Like, it's such a huge list. That's without including Northern Ireland, which is essentially a 300-year-old conflict. I mean, it ran for 300 years. And you think that you're going to scare them with your 25 guys in track? Come on, man. You should just be saying, you know what? We should do it the way that you want us to do it. Because if you were coming to our country, we would demand that you behave the way that we say. Now, I don't see the same thing. I'm not from that part of the world, right? I'm from Canada, where we already have 100 different cultures trying to call it one culture. But England has been there for a long time, and they have developed that culture. England is older than all of any country in the Middle East that you can name. So, I mean, we have records going back, to 500 AD? The Romans took it, right? So that country has been there for a long, long time, and it has a right to its culture. It has a right to its traditions. If they don't have a right to their traditions, then nobody has the right to their traditions. So how can you tell yourself that by asking that you recognize their traditions while you demand that they give respect to other people's culture? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, you have to respect people by not searching their women when they go through the airport, but they don't have to respect the fact that you like to go to church on Sunday. They don't have to respect the fact that you like to play soccer. I mean, that's sick in its inception. There can be no logic in that would make any sense but conflict. There can be nothing in there that makes any sense except to cause problems for one side or both sides. Now, you can argue, well, they've spent 10 years gathering all of the mechanism they need together to make it look like Venezuela, who's now marching through the streets with the army, not even hiding it. But you're talking about a populace that when they fought the king, they did it for, I think it was 12 years. You cannot really quantify the amount of hostility that can be brought to bear when an individual is fighting for what he sees as his went like nothing to lose, nowhere to go. This is his last stand. And you got no job for him. His hospitals are going to poop. His schools are going to poop. I mean, how can you expect him to do anything other than stand up for himself? And there's clips where cops are kicking in doors and arresting women in their night clothes because they put out a mean tweet. I mean, you can't be serious with this kind of stuff. People are not putting up with it. And the very small, minor 1% of humans that have decided that they were going to enforce this legislation and shove it onto the people need to understand that the people have shoved back. Will it stop? Will it fizzle out? Will it continue? Well, we're going to wait and see. But I can tell you right now that I saw clips on X that I didn't want to show on YouTube. I didn't want to put the comments on YouTube because I didn't think anybody would appreciate them. Like, you know what I mean? Some of them are very aggressive. And some of the videos are of stores catching on fire and smoke bombs being thrown, and people are upset. And I think that it's beholden of the government, the elected governments of these places, to acknowledge that the population that they claim to represent, the population that they claim they want their vote, to listen to them. If they don't listen to them, then it's not a democracy, it's a dictatorship. If they don't listen to the people on the ground, no matter what whatever their politics happen to be, you have to do as the population wants you to do. That's what you were elected to do. And if they say they've had enough mass migration, you have to respect that. No matter what you do, if you don't, it's going to only get worse. But if you don't, the truth of the matter is that you expose yourself to not be a democratic individual. And so now they're overthrowing tyranny. Now it's a revolution, which is something that nobody in their right mind would invoke in today's day and age. That's just my opinion. You can leave me your opinion down in the comments. Do you think they should give way to a new culture because a few selected individuals and globalists have decided they want them to? Or do you think they have the right to stand up for themselves? You let me know what you think. I'm going to wrap here. Well, thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you next time.